there's a lot to update you on. Unfortunately, you haven't published it and I can't tell you.
Oh my gosh.
The only way to trigger those defenses is to go without and put your body in a state of perceived adversity. And so I really have turned my brain into a sugar avoiding organ. Mm-hmm. So if I eat anything sweet, it's actually, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but it would be an artificial sweetener, mm-hmm. which I still think is way less troublesome than actual sugar. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sugar spikes are bad for you. And what that does is it tells your body, don't worry, times are good. Mm-hmm. Don't have to fight aging. Don't have to fight disease. Mm-hmm. Same with sitting around like we do in front of computer screens. That feels good. We watch movies, eat popcorn, but that's the worst you could do for long-term survival. It's not too bad if you just want to breed and die early.
So putting your body under intentional stress to prolong life and health. Like you talk extensively about cold sauna. We know all this. I remember listening to you, the heat shock proteins. I have a sauna. I started doing sauna because of you. Changed my life. I'm Benjamin Button now. Are there certain things you can do when you're older that stop damage to your genes that like is besides smoking or whatever, that is like a major thing that a lot of people are missing?
To be better or worse? To
avoid, like things that we just do to damage our genes in a lackadaisical way. Like I was listening to you talk about x-rays and how damaging x-rays are to our DNA, right? Our DNA, our genes, our cells.
No, you were right on all three.
I'm the best. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. It's like, it's a gift. No, but the older you get, the more x-rays you'll probably need.
That's wrong.
I mean, that makes sense to me. Older people hurt their ankle more. They got to get an MRI. They got to get an x-ray. The older you are, the higher the chances that you've had an x-ray.
That's true, but I would rather have an MRI than an X-ray.
So MRI doesn't do the same damage to cells.
Right.
X-rays do. Why do we not have an ability to X-ray people when they're injured or hurt without damaging their cells? Why isn't anyone?
Because X-ray machines are cheaper than MRIs. That's the reason. But X-rays trash your DNA. And if we do that to a mouse, it ages rapidly.
How much? One X-ray? 5?
Well, one's not going to kill you, but if you do it consistently, it's a lifetime accumulation.
All I know is that when I go in for an x-ray, and I'm going to talk about my mammogram story in a second, because I feel like when I went in for my first mammogram, and the woman, and it's digital now, and then there's like an x-ray. Maybe it's because my boobs are fake. They had to do an additional thing to look for it or something under it. It was like a whole nightmare. They had to like take them off and put them back on. It was the whole thing. And so I go in there and the woman, because I've always been fascinated. I just thought it was my comedian brain about when you go in for an x-ray, they put a giant metal cape on you that doesn't cover your head. It only covers your body.
Yep.
Why are you putting one on my head? I don't like the fact that I'm wearing this cape to begin with. This feels like the helmet thing. It feels like I just shouldn't be doing this at all if I need this.
And then they run away.
Sprint. Yeah. They run out of the room and duck and lock the door.
Yeah.
And
it's dangerous stuff.
They don't want to be near it. Like, why am I in here? If you're not casually walking out this door, if you're sprinting out this door and like ducking, obviously this isn't a good business model.
Right.
It's not. We got to go back to square one. It's not ready for market.
Right. I have big fights with doctors and dentists who want to X-ray me. Now, you do need an X-ray once in a while. Otherwise, you can't see if you've got cavities. But this every year, I don't do that. I've had big fights with my dentist that you're not going to X-ray me. And they basically say, well, it's all on you. Don't come to us if you get a cavity. Fine.
But I don't need sugar. We're good. Yeah.
Right. But I'm thinking, you need to pay for the machine that you just bought. Yeah, that's why you want to keep X-raying me.
Yeah.
And I don't have any pain. I don't have any issues. So I try to avoid X-rays. I try to avoid cosmic rays as much as I can, which are high up in the altitudes.
Are these like EMFs? Like cosmic rays?
No, these are mostly particles.
Because that cosmic rays sounds like a DJ at Coachella. Like, you have to understand, a lot of these terms that you use in science, the way they trickle down normal people are like bands and like, so, you know what I mean? So when I hear cosmic, I just think of fiction. You know,
good name for a band.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Cosmic
or like
rays.
We have this cosmic connection. Like, I think of like astrology and things that, you know what I mean, that are not scientific. So
okay, the sun is spewing out particles that if you don't get protected by the atmosphere, it'll damage your DNA, and damaging your DNA accelerates the aging process.
Yes,
that is a fact. So I try not to fly too much, but I have to.
Okay, so this is what I want to talk about because the x-ray, really quick, another thing that happened to me when I was doing the x-ray mammogram, the woman walked up to me with the metal cape and she just looked at me and she went, "Are you going to have kids?"
Oh, no.
And I was like, I think so. And she just went, "Oh, let's just put it on anyway, regardless." Like, she wasn't going to put it on me because I hadn't had kids yet and I was in my late 30s.
You can get ovarian cancer. What's the problem?
But then also, why do I even need this at all? Let's not do this at all, whether I have kids or not.
Right.
Even if I don't have kids, I don't want these rays in my ovaries. I have to carry them around. Like, it's obviously bad enough to where you were like, if you're going to have a kid, we're going to put this metal over your uterus.
Yeah, it's really bad. There's a lot of things we do in our lives that are craziness. I mean, just getting sunburnt like I did yesterday over at Gabby and
Laird's place, yeah. But let me ask you, but you have this punk rock, sort of not disrespect for authority, but the ability to question authority. Most people, they think doctors know way more than who am I to question a doctor? Like, if you're going to give me an extra, obviously this is safe, or else someone would have put a stop to it. No one would just be bombarding my uterus with something that is carcinogenic, or else there would be some authority that would stop it. Like, it just doesn't occur to me to think when you go to the doctor to get healed, you would ever get sick at the doctor. Well, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, doctors are only human and they can only store a certain amount of knowledge. And it's very hard to keep up to date with the science. They're usually 10 years behind actual knowledge. I work at Harvard Medical School, so I have to say some of my best colleagues and friends are doctors. But my physician,
laughter is the best medicine. I'm also a doctor.
Should I say? I'll give you a PhD.
I've been hearing you talk about sort of fertility and the advancements in fertility now when it comes to genetics.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about people, but I do know about horses and mice. We can reverse infertility in those animals, and we're not too different from those. So if it's true, what we see in the mice is that we could take a 65-year-old woman and make her fertile again. Now, I'm going to get criticized because we don't know that for a fact, but I'm just saying if it extrapolates, that's what we'll be living with. So we're trying that.
And it's interesting because when I think about, I'm obsessed with like the biological basis for things. Like, my brain just needs to know why this was advantageous to the human and why they evolved in this direction. So it's like women evolved to stop being fertile later in life, I guess because the life expectancy was so low and it wasn't necessary. But I would say back in the day, that's a scientific term, thousands of years ago, it would have been more advantageous to give birth young because you would be healthier. You'd be able to defend your child in a more robust way. So many women died on childbirth. Maybe your chances of surviving were higher. But my brain goes, the older you are, the better a mother you're going to be because you're going to know more. You're going to be more patient. You're going to select a more qualified partner. Like, 65 is probably when you should start having kids, frankly. That's when people finally figure their shit out.
Right.
And that's when you have the least amount of time.
It's true. I totally agree. Don't get married till 65. That's a really good idea.
As long as I don't look 65, I feel like I'll be fine.
So humans and even mice, female mice, lose their fertility about halfway through their lifespan. So this idea that women stop giving birth because it's dangerous, I don't think that's true because mice also do. And mice don't die from having little pups. But what I think is going on is that the reproductive system is just fragile. And there are other parts of our bodies that continue on way beyond where we should be. I mean, the reason we age actually is that we just were not selected to live beyond about 45 because we were probably going to die from a war, famine, or whatever. And we're just at the whim of entropy now. We just fall apart after age 45. But in my case, I lead a pretty crappy life. I don't do a ton of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I hate running. I probably have more alcohol than you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's overcome by these other things that I'm doing. There are plenty of things that you could do that are bad for you. The worst is smoking. So
Yeah.
I hope anyone who's listening who smokes, that'll age you rapidly. We can measure age now, and you can see it speeding up. So I don't
want to have to buy my NAD from a multi-level marketing scheme. Can you please just make it?
Well, we've made it, and it's in clinical trials. It'll eventually, if it works, become a drug that your doctor will give you for a variety of ailments.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day aging, which I hope will be a disease that your doctor can treat for you. But what I'm doing is I think even more important, which is building a company that will measure your age
Mm-hmm.
and then recommend things that I vet to be safe, pure, and actually proven to work. And so we'd be the hub, and then you can trust me that way.
And won't that, and I'm happy to run this leg of your company, won't that establishment also have to have a psychiatric element that's like you have to take all these supplements and you need to get a divorce? You know, like, is there going to have to be and you can't talk to that friend anymore because on your heart monitor, every time you hang out with that person,
Yep.
your heart rate goes up. That person is making, like, will that have to be a part of your...
It will be now. That's a great idea.